Hello, friends, and welcome in Career Talk, where we invite all our industry experts from various fields. And today I'm very proud to have Venkat again with us. We have done one more session in the past with Venkat, and today we are come up with very important topic, that is matrices. It's a most, I think, difficult topic to discuss, and that's why we are having Venkat with us today. So Venkat, thank you for giving your time and sharing your wealth of knowledge with all of our audience. Venkat.
Thank you so much, Sunal. Definitely that it is my privilege that I should feel for getting this opportunity again to have this interaction. So thank you so much before starting anything. Hello all. Let me share my screen. This. Can Sunal please confirm whether you are seeing my screen?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Again, hello all. Venkat here. This is again second time with Career Talk along with Sunand and you all. It gives me an immense pleasure to be with you all again today. So the topic that I chosen for today is metrics in Agile way of working. There are various aspects of metrics, and we get into that with my experience as well. Before giving to PPT presentation, I would like to go about little about myself. Venkat, my name Venkat Vanrangi. I'm also known to people as Venvan, and I'm a continuous learner, happy-going individual. LPG is my driving fuel. If you ask me, I would say listening music, playing with pets, and gardening is my driving fuel. Mostly happy, humble, and helpful. And my career journey started with IBM as a mainframe developer programmer, then team lead, project manager, program manager, scrum master, and then Agile coach now. I'm passionate about talking on happiness and health. And I would like to become an as a WA coach, wellness and happiness coach. So that is my futuristic goal. Here I would like to say one quote about which I would like most and which has been from me, that brain is the most powerful asset anyone can have. To utilize it, AAA rated. One should learn a knowledge, a skill, so that it sharpens your brain. And also it keeps you, continuous learning also keeps you younger also. So that is the point that I would like to say here. Now, without any further delay, I would like to get into the topic. The topic is metrics, again, as I said. And the key point that I would like to touch upon through today's session are why metrics, what are Agile metrics, and how Agile metrics help, and industry practices on ground, which I have seen practically through my 22 years of overall IT career experience. Coming to, see, why metrics? Why metrics? Someone from American management consultant said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. In fact, we do metrics, we collect metrics for improvement. Maybe improvement could be the latter, second step, but even before improvement, you should be able to manage and control. So as this American management consultant said, if you can't measure it, you cannot control, you cannot manage. He's the one, Peter Drucker. So that is the level of importance that it is there for metrics. You may ask me a question like, what is metrics? In fact, for that matter, metrics, it is a combination of two or more measures. See, there is a difference. When I bring in these two words, now you may get confused. What is measure and metric? Both may be similar, same, but actually not. If you see, I say 30 kilometer distance, it is a measure. I say 1 hour time, it is a measure, because these are all singulars, meaning single measures. But when I club these two together, 30 kilometers per hour, that becomes metric. It gives me 30 kilometers per hour. It is a combination of two measures. So that is where the metrics come. Metrics is a combination of two or more measures. So measure is the one single entity. Metrics is combination of. When you come into Agile way, metrics could be story points in a sprint, velocity. Anyway, we'll get into number of story points completed in a sprint. Story points over sprint. Sprint is duration. Story points the number. So these two are combined here. So it's a metric. Now let us see what are the various metrics that we usually practice and get into in when Agile way of working. Burn downs, some of you may have already been knowing about burn downs, sprint level, epic level, release level, at least the basic level, what you see in Jira, what we see it is sprint level. You can get into epic level, you can get into release level also. And then velocity, story points completed in a sprint. Number of story points completed in a sprint, over a sprint, velocity. And then cycle time, time in work in progress before done. So the amount of time, duration from the moment it got into work in progress till before done, it is the cycle time. So it is called as work in time, work in progress to product increment, WI to PI, YPI time. The moment it comes into the work in progress till it becomes product increment, PI, WI to PI, YPI. Next, lead time. Time between the request is made and the release could be meaning done. So it is from the time it enters into backlog item, product backlog. From the time it enters into product backlog item and it becomes product increment, by. So the cycle time is the overall time in how much time the work item is in progress, work in progress to product increment, wherein the lead time, the time it been requested by the client, by the sponsor, requested, the work item comes and sits in the product backlog. It is not that the moment it comes into the product backlog, you take it work in progress. You may take some time to get into work in progress. There could be some intermediary waiting, could be backlog grooming, could be understanding of the requirement, could be definition of ready, which makes and which are required to bring this user story in terms of Agile I'm talking about. To bring this user story into work in progress, there is some time gap. So that is additional to the cycle time. So always a lead time is more than cycle time. There can be chances that a lead time and cycle time may be equal, which could be on the day that the work item comes into the product backlog, immediately on the same day that you are bringing into work in progress. It is a very ideal case. So in that case, lead time and cycle time would become the same. And again, I'll come to the difference between what is lead time and cycle time in the next slide. So these are the basic and preliminary metrics that we use when we're working in Agile way of working. Burn downs, velocity, cycle time, lead time, and one more, defects. Number of defects avoided, escaped, and which talks about quality. Again, you may have, if you talk defects, just defects, it is a measure. So if you attach defects per sprint or defects per release or defects per this much size, then it will get into metrics. Another one, process efficiency. How much efficient your process is, whether any gaps or whether any wastages being in place from start to end. If you can avoid or eliminate any wastages from start to end, then your process efficiency would become 1. It is very ideal case. It may not be possible to get into that level. So, so these are the metrics that we use in a day-to-day practices while anyone working in as a way of working. In fact, I have already given the definitions here, but again, I'm getting into burn downs to exhibit remaining work, various cases which I will get into. It talks about, like, you would have already seen those people who are working in Jira would definitely come to know. I'm not bringing up Jira here in the interest of time and to have this overall session to be very precise. Burn down, it starts from, you have y-axis and x-axis, where x-axis is the time and y-axis talks about story points or any in terms of size. So it starts from there, how many story points that you started with a sprint. And from there, it burns down. The amount of work item getting completed, it looks for the remaining amount. Ultimately, at the end, the remaining amount should come down to 0. That is where it is burned down. So it talks about remaining work. Velocity is a predictability. People get confused with velocity as a productivity measure. It is wrong. Velocity is per equation. It is number of story points completed in a sprint. Say for example, if you take last 6 months sprints in a row and you figure out average velocity from all these 6 sprints, which could bring you an average decent velocity of the team. If the same team continues next sprints also, if this average velocity is somewhere 25 story points per sprint, then team can commit 25 story point for the next sprint also, because this is an average which came from your past experience. So your team capacity or team can turn product backlog items into done status of size around 25. So it is very nice to commit somewhere around 25 story points. So it shouldn't be looked at this as a productivity measure. It is a predictability. Why predictability is, my average velocity is 25 per story point. So I'm predicting that comfortably, that I'm predicting that in my next sprint also team would be able to take this many, would be able to complete this many. So it is just a predictability measure. It is not a productivity measure at all. And in the industry practice, which we get into the later slides, which I had experienced as well, I would get into what are the various abnormalities, what are the various anti-patterns, we'll get into. Cycle time and lead time both lead towards faster delivery, deliver fast. So on a scale, cycle time and lead time are on the same scale, but where lead time is a bit more than cycle time. Cycle time is for the process, how much time it takes to complete a work item from work in progress to done. So this is for process. But wherein the lead time, it is for the requester, for the client. From the time that client requested a work item till the time it gets done, the overall time, it is lead time. So definitely it would be more than the cycle time. However, both cycle time or lead time are meant for faster delivery. The point here it is, you can aim for faster delivery, but not at a level of improving your cycle time, either cycle time or lead time. You shouldn't. Why you shouldn't? I'll get into the examples in the next slide. But let me go through the various metrics here. So cycle time or lead time to be byproducts only. What I mean by byproducts, I'll get into later. Defects. Intent to improve quality. So the amount of defects you should look at decreasing over a period of time. So that is the one which guarantees the product quality. So that defects per release or defects per sprint or defects per particular sizing that you should look at decreasing, which could be an improvement. Process efficiency, which I said, identify and eliminate any wastes in the process so that your process efficiency would improve. So these are the definitions wise. I'll get into examples as well as the industry practice which I had seen. I would give you about the burn downs, various cases. Various cases here, the good cases, bad cases, and anti-pattern cases. Here, the dotted line talks about plan, green dotted line, wherein the red thick line talks about actual. These are the good cases. We'll explain. See here, these are the some deviation cases. So the first set, if you see 1, 2, 3, these are normal cases and very ideal, very ideal. This may not happen. In my experience, I have never seen this kind of burn downs throughout my 6, 7, 8 years of Agile way of working. These are very ideal case. If you see the dotted line, as I said, the dotted green line, it is a planned burn down. From the time x-axis, duration, time, and y-axis, it is a size. Usual size would be story points. Some people follow in hours also, but actually hours is not a good practice. We don't do that. So we do with the y-axis as story points. For example, you started with story point of sizing 20 screen point. Okay. 25 you started with, and the very next day you completed 5 story points. Assume that 5 story points you completed. So the remaining would be, how much work remaining would be 20. So the next day it comes down to 20. Similarly, another 5. I'm just giving very ideal cases. So after a period of time, at the sprint end, you should be touching the x-axis here, indicating that the number of story points remaining, the number of work items remaining to be 0. So the dotted line here, the green line, which is the planned one, you should go down. You should start from here and should touch the x-axis here after this amount of time. Could be 2 weeks sprint. Your actual line, the red color, actual line, maybe somewhere around very closely to your planned line. This is very ideal. I never seen, as I said, I never seen this kind of similar case. This also, it is also surrounding to the planned line, but a bit more deviation. In the first case, the deviation it is very minimal. The gap between the planned and actual. Third case, if you see this also, though there is a deviation, but the end of the sprint, you are able to come down to 0, remaining 0. These 3 are normal cases. Normal cases, normally you wouldn't experience. With my experience that I'm saying, ideal case, good case, decent case. Now, come down to the last 3. These are deviation case. You see here, your planned burn down starts here and ends here. But by the time you reached sprint end, your burn down stopped here, which means that the remaining work still this much length remaining work. Say for example, you stopped somewhere 20. So 20 story points remaining work, still it is there, yet to be done, but you reach the sprint end, which means that missed commitments. You couldn't complete. You committed for 25 story points. 25 story points are taken as an ideal case here to start with. But you missed. You couldn't complete the commitment. Next case. You see, your team's velocity is 25 story points. Thinking that it would continue for the next sprint also, with the predictability that next sprint also you give it 25 somewhere around. But though that initially it is near somewhere closer to the plan, one fine day all of a sudden it came down and touched the x-axis, which means you completed some time before actual time. Here this x-axis is duration, time. You completed well ahead, at least 40% of time before, which means that team would have taken 16 or 17 or 18 points, story point somewhere. I'm just giving these numbers only to make you understand it. It is not exact. Somewhere 16 to 17 story point, and they would have bulged it to 25. They would have bulged it to 25 by increasing the size of the other story. So they made it to 25. Actually, it is not. So they were able to complete well ahead before. So this is the case where wrong estimates. This could be happening in the other side also. You would have actually for 30 or 35 story point, you would have estimated as 25. So in this case, it may come down to missed commitments because still items would be left, but your sprint ends. This is the case, wrong estimates. And sixth, this is the most time that I had seen in my experience that people don't at all, let me see. It started with 25 story points. And until the sprint duration, over the sprint duration, it continued on as a parallel line. On the last day, all of a sudden it dropped down to x-axis to meet. On the last day, it came down to 0 all of a sudden, which means team is not updating the burn down, team is not updating their completion in the Jira on a daily basis. They are updating only in the last day. On the last day, all the user stories are moved to done status. So this is the one, another case, no daily updates. Most of the times I have seen this, no daily updates, and another two anti-patterns are there that I will get into next slide. So normal case, very ideal, it may not happen in a real time. Here deviation case, these can very well happen. Anti-pattern case, this one, I have not given here the actual. Actual can be any of earlier 6 types, could be of any one. So I have not given the actual here. If you see the plan, it started from 0 and the story points went up to here, maximize. From there it was coming down. This is the plan. Actually, I have not given. So the reason is why? Because the sprint was started with 0 points. Sprint was started with 0 points. No stories were added, but still sprint started with size of 0. The next day, team started to add the user stories. Then the story points increased too. It came to a point, a peak point. From there onwards, it is coming down. This is the, from second day or third day, the burn down is expected to come down to hit the x-axis. So this is the case. This is another anti-pattern. Here if you see, the story points initially it has a positive number, somewhere around 20. it went up and it came down. This is again a planned case. I have not given actual. Actual could be any of from earlier 6 cases. So what does this mean? Sprint started with 25 story point and it got added, which means scope changed, scope increased. He may accepted some more user stories into the sprint after the sprint started. So that is where the actual burn down starting point is moved up to come down from that point. Usually the burn down has to come down, but instead it went up. So this is the one case. Story points added, requirements added, scope changed. So these are the anti-pattern cases. So going back again, just to show normal case, very ideal, deviating case, very, very frequently can happen. And then anti-pattern case, there can be chances that this anti-pattern case also happen. I have seen many such. In my experience, I have seen many such. So these are the various cases of burn downs which you would see in Jira or any ALM product that you see which you use for Agile project management. Process efficiency. I'll not be getting all the metrics here one by one, but I'll be touching upon the major ones. Cycle time, lead time, anyway, I would come into process efficiency. If you take an example of any employee or any team member works in a day for about 8 hours or 9 hours. But out of 8 hours, an ideal case, how much time one is productive? If you take the breaks time, breakfast time or any breaks time in between, chit-chatting, canteen time, if you take lunch time and after lunch, before lunch, any chit-chatting, any unnecessary meetings, and in the afternoon, evening, tea, coffee, snacks time. If you take all this non-value add times, if you count this, it may be somewhere around, just assume that 2 hours. So out of 8 hours, your time wastage is 2 hours. So the actual productive time is 6 hours. So your process efficiency, like meaning your productivity per day is only 6 hours out of 8 hours, which means 6 multiplied 100 by 8, 75%. So process efficiency ultimately looks at, in fact, this is concept of lean value stream mapping, which looks at in the process of from beginning to end, look for all the sub activities and look for where are the cases that there can be chances for wastage, kind of any waste. So identify waste and eliminate this waste from your process. So that brings your process efficiency would be 100%. 100% definitely not possible. At least you would minimize the wastage so that your process efficiency would improve. So in this case, the example which I gave, anyone's productivity somewhere around 75%, not more than that. So process efficiency is, the formula is value add multiply 100 by value add plus non-value add. So the amount non-value add goes to 0, then you would become, you get into 100%. When this becomes 0, VA by VA 1 multiply 100, which means 100%. Another example, take for example, you go to pizza shop. To buy and to eat pizza, you first have to get into the queue, counter queue, where you have to make an order. In the queue, you may have to wait for some time. Once your turn comes, you order. Then you may be asked to go to a Paying counter. Paying counter could be a different next to where you give your credit card by cash, whatever it may be, paying method. You go there. Again, there is a queue. You pay there, and you will be given with a slip or your token number. With this token number, you sit somewhere and you wait for till the time that your turn comes. You will be called. You will wait for some time. Then pizza would be delivered to you there, then and there. I'm talking about where you go to the shop. So now you get the pizza, open the box, and you eat. In the process from ordering till you eat, there are various steps. Could be 3 or 4 steps in the process. So each step would take some time. And from step to step, there is some time gap, wastage. So if you can minimize that, if you can reduce that, then your process efficiency would become 1. Say, for example, a process which is having 5 tasks. Each task, on an average, ideal case, taking 2 minutes. 5 tasks to complete, 10 minutes. Within these 5 tasks, from task to task, there is a wait period of, on an average, 10 minutes. So you have 4 waits. 4 waitings, 40 minutes. 40 minutes, and the actual process time, 10 minutes. So overall, 50 minutes. Now, your process efficiency is, value add time is only just 10 out of overall time, value add plus non-value add, 10 plus 40. So overall, your process efficiency would be 10 by 50, which means 20 by 100, 20%. So this is how that you look for process efficiency. This could be like you can apply to minimize the cycle time or to minimize the lead time. Cycle time and lead time both are the same because these are the same scale. Only difference that matters is lead time is a bit more than cycle time. Cycle time plus some delta. So you can apply this on minimizing or reducing the cycle time. But again, the anti-patterns, the industry practice, generally that what we see are different. We should never focus on improving the cycle time. We should never focus on improving the velocity. We should never focus improving on the lead time. These should be your byproducts. Why I'm saying this, I will come to the next slide. These should become your byproducts. Automatically that this should come into place without aiming. That is the one. If you aim, that is where that you would get into troubles. That is where team can find a number of ways to manipulate. So ultimately, you can see the improvement in the numbers, but at the ground level, you will not see the improvement in the value. So that is the idea I'm arriving at. So here, true agility, and this again, it is a statement from me that I arrived. True agility is directly proportional to value delivery over data and dashboards. What it means is, when you focus on value delivery, that itself is more than anything else. Once you focus on value delivery, either data or dashboards, by automatically, those also would improve. You don't need to aim for. That's what I mean to say here. So having this, and with my experience as well, I figured out some kind of metrics manifesto. It is completely by me, with my perception and with my experience that I came up with, which could be like this. So you don't see this anywhere in Google yet. Metrics manifesto: value over volume, outcome over output, people focus over client focus, value delivery over fancy dashboards. Why I said is, from my earlier one of the organization in my past experience, I have seen we were asked to increase volume, number of story points. See, your team's velocity is this much, 25. By this year, and this velocity should increase by 10%. That is okay. If it is said so, or even if it is actually to increase the story point, the developer, the team member would definitely look at various ways of increasing the story point size, because it is my OKR, so that I will have to look for various options to improve it, but I will not be focusing on improving the value. When you focus on value delivery, ultimately that you would increase the volume. Why should we focus on increasing the volume? It should be a byproduct. You focus on value, that makes any sense, that makes the ultimate sense to the client. You don't need to worry about the volume. Why? Give the value to the value, not the volume. Number of story point doesn't make any sense to me. So even if you increase 10% quarter on quarter, 10% by year on year, that wouldn't make any sense to me as a client. Similarly, outcome over output. You would have completed 10 user stories in a sprint, but what is the outcome for me? What is in it for me? Output is there, volume is there again, but what is the outcome? What makes sense to me, to my business? So that is again outcome over output. And people focus over client focus. This again came from me. I would always look at people first, because if you take care of people, people will definitely take care of clients. This was said by the Virgin group of companies, Richard Branson. You might be knowing about him also. If you take care of people, they'll take care of clients. You don't need to worry about. So you focus on people, they'll focus on client. If your focus is directly on client, over a period of time, people would get sick, and they would take planned sick leaves, and they would take various ways of taking leaves. They would take various ways of escaping from work. So with that context, I said that people focus first, they are client focus. And value delivery over fancy dashboards. This is the biggest point I would like to talk about. Value delivery, ultimately, that is the one which makes sense to the business sponsor, not the fancy dashboards. I used to get into monthly management meetings when I was in my previous organizations, one of the organizations, monthly management meetings, where we were asked to showcase some velocity improvement, cycle time improvement. These are the things which are predominantly were being asked. And were being asked to come up with the fancy dashboards. But how? Why? Why these fancy dashboards? As long as the team is delivering value to the client, fancy dashboards don't make any sense. Maybe once you have the value delivery in place, you may end up preparing fancy dashboards, very nice, but that is not your primary focus. It should be a byproduct. So when I look for increasing or improving my velocity, team would find out a number of ways how they can improve that. Similarly, cycle time. Even in Jira, for that matter, there could be some outlier user stories which is causing the cycle time way beyond your average. To bring my cycle time into my limits where I am focusing at, I can very well manipulate by excluding those outliers. These were done in my teams. Yes, I experienced. These were done. So that shouldn't be the value. That shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be your primary focus. Your primary focus always value delivery. So as I said, this could be metrics manifesto. It is completely my thought. So you don't see anywhere in the Google. value over volume, outcome over output, people focus over client focus, and value delivery over fancy dashboards. These are the things which make ultimately on ground for the client to deliver value. So that is about metrics manifesto, and the metrics which I had experienced, and with my examples, that these are the things that I had seen. So thought of sharing with you today. If you have any questions, you may jot down your questions in the comment box. I'll definitely get back to you. So with this, I'm closing my session, and thank you, Sunand, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you, Career Staff. Let us connect again for one more session. Thank
Definitely,
you.
Venkat.
I will definitely
Thanks
look
a lot.
into your question. I'll definitely answer your question. Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Venkat. I think it's a great session. For me, the key takeaways are this manifesto. I think that's a great thing which you come up with, and maybe a little bit more input here and there. But I think it's initially it looks really great, and I think it's really wonderful you thought about something like this. So that's a key takeaway for me. And the other thing which you have mentioned, that all this velocity and lead time and lag time, these are just the byproduct, right?
Yes.
So that's again an important thing which everyone should understand. And if you see this manifesto, it will be clear. So I think that's really wonderful that you summarize everything in just these four lines over here. These
Thank you.
are, I think, really wonderful, Venkat, on your part. So thank you, and definitely we will have more session, not only one session, more sessions in future, Venkat, with you. Definitely, we love to see you again and again with all
Again,
your.
sure. Yeah.
Definitely.
Thank you so
With
much.
this-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. And with this thought, guys, we are just closing the session. And if you like the session, please hit a like, and please do comment what do you want to see in the next upcoming sessions. So yeah, with this thought, bye everyone. All the best.
Thank you. Bye-bye.